Me, Jade, Ian.
Yes, I'm here, Richard. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
So we're just going to get started in a minute. We're just waiting for the last few stragglers to come online. It's good to see everyone. You can see the room is filling up nicely. I'll just say, if you look at the right-hand side, there's a chat box. Feel free to say hello, type in your name and where you're from. We'll give you a shout out. I should also draw your attention to the prize draw we're going to have at the end. After the webinar, all the people that have liked and followed us on Facebook and Instagram, we'll do a prize draw for €150 TEFL Iberia voucher. So we'll announce that afterwards.
Well worth winning.
Definitely. Excellent value. Yeah. I should also say as well that we notice sometimes the sound distorts if you're listening on your phone. If you find that happens, you can close the chat box and just give it a second, and the problem should rectify itself.
Yeah, I also think that if somebody does watch the recording again later, it shouldn't have those lags. So if anybody does miss something, then...
Exactly, yeah. So this will be recorded, and we're going to share it on the website and social media afterwards as well, so you'll get the chance to listen back. Well, hello, Irina. Hello, Angola. Welcome. Glad you're here. And Biliana, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, hello. So let us know where you're from as well. It'd be good to know where everyone is listening in from. Hey, Janet. Janet's online as well. Hello, Janet. So yeah, that's a few minutes past 7. Let's get started. There's a lot to cover. So as we all know, it's really been a crazy year for everyone. And we just wanted to take some time to think about it and to think about what to expect for 2021 and how to plan for it. So this is TEFL coronavirus in 2021. I want to start by introducing the TEFL Iberia team and the hosts. So we've got a great team behind TEFL Iberia. We have a combined experience of about 30 years now of working in the TEFL industry. We all come from different backgrounds and even different continents, which really makes the school a real melting pot. So my name's Richard. I'm from Scotland, and I'm the director and founder of TEFL Iberia. I came to Barcelona in 2008 when I was just a young lad out of university.
So probably a bit different.
Yeah. And I had no real ambition beyond just going to the beach, going out. But I eventually settled down, and I did a TEFL course many years ago. I got a job teaching English. I got involved in business English. Then I eventually got involved in teacher training. And then I finally had the opportunity to start TEFL Iberia. So did that in 2012. So we started very small. We just ran a few courses per year. But since then, we've gone from strength to strength. The team is bigger. And yeah, so things are going well. So great to be here. Great to talk to you guys from Barcelona. And it's a pleasure to introduce Ian.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, my name is Ian Henderson. I'm from, near London, so south of England. And I've been, involved in teaching for about 10 years, just less than 10 years, and specifically with TEFL Iberia since 2016. And I've been the course director and the main tutor since we were Trinity accredited at the end of 2017. And so my main responsibilities are the face-to-face running of all of the courses, observing the trainees when they give their lessons, helping you plan all of your lessons, and then during the input sessions and the feedback. So essentially you are with me throughout the course. Our other main tutor, Juliana, she's not with us this afternoon. I think she's on her way home after some classes or something. She's from Argentina, so you get a nice mix of me as a native that has not gone through the process of learning a language, and Juli, who has been in that situation, which is often a great source of knowledge for other non-natives who join our courses. And The other member of our team that is with us today is our Director of Admissions, Jade from Australia.
Yes, thanks, Ian. As Ian just said, I'm Jade. I'm from the land down under, as they say, all the way from Australia. I made the move to Barcelona in the summer of 2019. So I actually came to Barcelona to do the Trinity Cert TEFL with TEFL Iberia. So I did start out as a student myself. And yeah, now I'm the Director of Admissions. I've been in this role since February this year. So right before COVID hit, so it's definitely been a whirlwind of a role, that's for sure. But yeah, basically I am in charge of pretty much the whole enrollment process, interviewing potential trainees for the course, providing everyone with all the information they need, and yeah, getting them set up before they are handed over to the amazing Ian and Wooly. So yeah.
Excellent, thanks guys. Yeah, really great team of people. So first things first, so you've noticed the chat box is on the right hand side. You're very welcome to ask us questions throughout the webinar, and one of us will do our best to answer you. We'll also take some time at the very end for Q&A to answer the most popular questions as well. So feel free to get your questions in. As an overview of what we're doing today, so we're going to start with a little bit of who we are and what we do, how COVID has impacted the TEFL industry, can or should I do a TEFL course just now? Is it a good idea or not? And what to expect in 2021. So first of all, who we are. So we are TEFL Iberia. We are the only school in Barcelona accredited by Trinity College London, which is a big source of pride. And we're one of the top, if not the top, TEFL course provider in Barcelona. We've been running since 2012, and we achieved the Trinity College London accreditation in 2017. Now, this is a big deal because the Trinity Cert TESL is level 5 on the UK qualifications framework, which is important because it means it's recognised by the UK government, the British Council, and governments internationally as a valid qualification. Every course we do is moderated, so a moderator comes to the school to moderate both us, the course tutors and all the material, and also the students as well, to make sure that you guys have learned everything you're supposed to learn, and to make sure that standards are kept high as well. So you really are guaranteed a high quality course. We also work hard on student satisfaction, and that's reflected in the reviews that you can see online. On Google, we have over 100 reviews, and we're very well rated. And similarly on TEFL course review, so you're welcome to Google it and have a look around. Also, TEFL Iberia in numbers. So, like I say, we were founded in 2012, and since then we've had at least 60 different nationalities pass through the course as course graduates, alumni that we have now. So we've had all the English-speaking countries like the UK, North America, Australia, South Africa, but we've had students from diverse backgrounds such as Singapore, Middle East, Mexico, most European countries have been through the school. So
yeah. We've had somebody from Trinidad and Tobago as well, so Helga would be in good company.
Excellent. That's good. We have, I'd say, at least 20% of our students are non-native English speakers. We really support and encourage non-native English teachers, and we're also able to give them very specific advice about finding work in Barcelona. So one thing we really enjoy is that every group is different. So we do the same course, but every single group that passes through is very different. We've got guys, girls, older, younger, native, non-native, like from all over the world. So it keeps it interesting for us, and it's a real pleasure to work with so many people from all over the world as well. Yeah, and since 2011, we've had over 600 alumni, so part of a growing community as well. Now, just to get a pulse of the room in the webinar, we want a little bit of interaction. So we have a short survey, which is what best describe your situation. So there are, let me see, there are 4 questions. So what describes your situation? If you're completely new, maybe you have some experience already, maybe you're just looking for work, or maybe you're looking for a different opportunity. So if you just take a minute, complete the poll. Oh, well, yeah, you can see the answers coming in. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, we'll finish this in 5, 4, 3, put your votes in, 2, still coming in. Keep going, keep going. Yeah, more. Well, yeah, this is funny to watch from our end.
Do you feel like it's Eurovision and the votes are...
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to end now and share results. Okay, so interesting mix. So yeah, most people are new and they want to get certified, so that's excellent. So we've got lots of useful information coming up if you're a new teacher and you want to get started. And equally, if you want to take your training a little bit further, we have some good information for you as well. If you're already working, it'd be great to hear about your experience of this last year. You're welcome to give us some comments in the chat as well. Okay, I'm going to stop this. Back to the presentation. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Jade, and she's going to take you through the main body, the most interesting parts of this webinar. Over to you, Jade.
Sweet, thanks, Richard. So yeah, I think we think one of the biggest, I guess, questions at the moment is how has coronavirus actually impacted the international education industry and in particular the TEFL industry as a whole. So obviously it's been quite a up and down year. It's been really hard for everyone. I don't think anyone has not been somewhat impacted by the coronavirus. So there's definitely been a lot of challenges, but there's also been a lot of opportunities that have come from coronavirus as well. You know, some of the challenges that we've sort of faced are, you know, mainly sort of the shutting down of everything. You know, everything really just shut down. Nothing was open, closure of borders. So this significantly impacted education and international education as well, because people weren't being able to travel, to arrive into their countries for their courses and their programs. So it impacted the students, and it also impacted the facilities themselves as well. We were ones that were significantly impacted. We did unfortunately have to close, and that was sort of felt across the board as well. One other thing as well is the shutdown of bureaucracy and administration processes. Even if academic facilities were open and running and taking their students, a lot of students couldn't actually get into the country to undertake their courses because visa processes weren't happening, visas weren't being granted, and it was just a massive pain for everyone. So there were some major challenges, but in saying that though, there's been some great opportunities. One of the good things that the government sort of did for a lot of students that were already throughout their courses was there was a lot of mitigation of financial impacts for those students. So extending the amount of hours that students can work. A lot of students on student visas are sort of controlled on how many hours they can actually earn money. So that was extended so students could get out working more. And also the sort of governments were providing grants and sort of financial support to these students to sort of get them through this hard time. If they couldn't work, they couldn't get back to their home countries and everything like that. One sort of major opportunity that has helped a lot of financial institutions, especially us as well, is basically moving everything online. So, you know, prior to coronavirus, the Trinity Cert TESL in particular was a course that could never be run online. It was something that was required to be face-to-face and to have that face-to-face in person in an sort of academy environment. Whereas now, because of coronavirus, we can luckily do the course with the exact same qualification, the exact same amount of sort of beneficial content and training, but through an online platform, which sort of gives that global flexibility and allows students from all over the world to have access to this amazing training and education. So that's been, an amazing opportunity for a lot of institutions and providers. Speaking of that, the classroom is one thing that's been majorly impacted as well. So I'm going to hand over to Ian, who's going to talk us through what's happening in the classrooms these days.
Yeah, thanks, Jade. So before we really touch upon TEFL Iberia and what our online course offers, I wanted to speak a little bit about what is happening in classrooms. And so from the beginning of lockdown, so March, early adopters of online teaching managed to move their classes 100% online. This was using kind of established platforms such as Zoom or Google Classrooms. And this is still really prevailing now. It seems to be something that's going to be around for a long time. Other schools spent some time and certainly quite a lot of money on establishing their own platforms. And so they train their staff, they train their students even to feel confident using these platforms. And after that kind of investment, it certainly seems the case that online teaching is here to stay. Certainly not a new thing, online teaching, but in terms of being mainstream and in terms of kind of concrete academies really focusing on online rather than relying solely on the physical classroom, we've definitely seen that switch. And with the rise of technology over the last, I don't know, what, 30 years, it's kind of been that teaching has been a little bit stuck in the 20th century. And now that those floodgates have opened, and to steal an expression that I know Richard likes, kind of the cat is out of the bag with online teaching, it's definitely the future. It doesn't mean that you have to teach all the time online, but having it as a viable option that students and academies and even companies are familiar with is a great opportunity for teachers.
It's
and
true.
we see it as,
yeah, it's really true.
Yeah.
It's proved so popular that people are not really willing to go back. I do think there will be a lot of interest in in-person courses afterwards, but they've proven to be so successful and popular that people, they want to continue online. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily that they don't want to go back, but they don't feel it's an inferior product. Teachers are enjoying the almost surprisingly close nature that you can have with your students online. It doesn't feel like there's a screen between you necessarily, especially if you're equipped with the right tools and the right way to go about it. The second one is the return to physical classrooms that Richard touched upon. Some of the 2020 issues with this is reduced classroom sizes and the real increase in hygiene standards and protocol that we need to follow. And that's something that is likely to continue for the foreseeable future, certainly next year. But I definitely don't think it's a bad thing in terms of general well-being, that people are washing their hands more and cleaning things more and just kind of being a little bit more responsible for their learning environment. One of the benefits of the change in classroom sizes in physical classrooms is that no longer are there days when you'll have class with one teacher and 20 students. I think it doesn't really work in primary education, and it certainly doesn't work in something which is as communicative and hopefully as productive as language learning. And so smaller classrooms require more teaching hours. And so even if there has been a reduction in total physical teaching, a lot of academies are seeing a similar number of teaching hours because of the split up of students. And it means that the attention that the students are getting and the rapport that you can build with your students is much closer. The third one, which is still very much kind of in its early stages, I wouldn't say that it particularly existed 12 years ago, is this idea of hybrid learning. Our webinar today isn't really long enough to go into all the different ways that this can happen, but for example, it might be that in the same class you have some students online and some students physically in the classroom. It may be that once a week they have one teacher online and once a week they're physically in the classroom with another teacher. Lots of different ways that the hybrid can work. Anecdotally, I know friends, I know people on our developing teacher course that teach hybrid, and the thing that is kind of true throughout it is that generally students' motivation and interest is very high. They're very patient while teachers kind of learn the process, and academies as well. They're really trying to help their teachers, their staff, but also their students to feel confident. They're very willing to teachers' own suggestions about things, which is so important. And it's kind of something that's possibly been lacking a little bit, that academies had their way of doing something and the teachers had to follow it. And what I think is that 2020 is a little bit of a shift of that, and it's a modernization of teaching.
I do think, if I can just add one thing, that with the hybrid classes, I think it depends on how much the school has invested in the technology, because you can have everything at one end of the scale. You can have just like a laptop, basically, where a student would be, and you do your best to deal with that, where you just have the internal microphone and camera. Or you can have a very high tech, like a webcam that is sensitive to where the sound is coming from, so it will turn to look towards the student, and like that student will be on the screen, and they've got basically very high tech AV equipment, and that can be a little bit more enjoyable, but it's expensive to set these things up as well. And I think it's maybe a love-hate thing with the hybrids. Some people say it's the best of both worlds, and some people say it's the worst of both worlds. So I think it really depends.
Yeah, I think it's certainly something that different people are going to have a different experience with it, and different opinions on it, but it is here and it's potentially here to stay. And certainly in its format of, once we've got our new normal, anyway, schools that continue with hybrid, it's because it's working for them, rather than it being forced upon them, as we've had this year. I think Jade's now going to talk a little bit about 2021 and our sort of expectations of where things are going.
Yeah, so we are obviously coming to the end of 2020. I think we're all quite happy about that and ready for a nice, fresh new year. Hopefully something that's a lot more positive than this year. I think that's what we're all looking for. But yeah, moving into the new year, obviously it's so hard to predict what's going to happen in certain. This year's been so up and down with things changing, month by month. But what we do, I guess, anticipate and hope for is the slow de-escalations over the winter and into the summer. I would say across the world, but I guess here, particularly in Spain, Spain is anticipating to reopen to tourists with no restrictions from March. So no PCR tests, no crazy quarantines or anything like that. So it's great news for everyone that's wanting to come to Barcelona to study and to come be with us. It makes us very, very excited and happy for the future. Like sort of Ian just touched on, online and hybrid classes is something that we've definitely had to learn and adapt and incorporate into pretty much everyday life these days. And we do sort of predict that it is here to stay. The online, especially the online sort of environment, has really opened up teachers and students' eyes to how flexible that sort of delivery can be. So we do see that here to stay for the foreseeable future. When it comes to travel, obviously everyone loves to travel and no one has been able to travel. So we definitely see an increase in people wanting to travel, doing, extracurricular stuff like a course and coming to Barcelona in particular and traveling and studying and doing all of that. So we can see a big increase. There's also the very, very, very blurry topic of Brexit. For all the Brits that are interested in coming to Barcelona, it's something that we don't really know a lot about yet, but we are endeavouring ourselves to, as soon as we do know after the withdrawal period on the 31st of December what's going to happen, we're going to make sure that we're the first ones to know and being able to communicate that to all of our sort of interested Brits that want and be with us, which hopefully won't be.
I've personally signed up to the UK government subscription service. So every time there is an update to their relationship with Spain or anything related to Brexit, I should hopefully have an email notification. So we really are doing our best to stay up to the minute with the latest government advice. And as soon as we have it, we'll digest it and transmit it on to you guys. So watch this space. It'll be another webinar for sure.
Yeah. We'll definitely be adapting sort of our product and service offering to be able to sort of accommodate for all these Brits if Brexit is going to be a big impact. So what are we doing as TEFL Iberia? We have made the decision to go completely 100% online for the first half of next year, so pretty much the winter going into the autumn. just to provide that flexibility and opportunity for those who can't travel but still want to take part in such an amazing opportunity, like doing a cert TESL. And the online environment is, like we said, here to stay. So being able to have that experience teaching online will obviously be super beneficial as well. But we know that, people do want face-to-face courses, so we definitely are bringing them back in May and into the summer to bring back our sort of standard face-to-face course. So yes, hopefully really, really positive things for 2021 for everybody. Richard, is this you next?
Yes. So what else do we know? We wanted to try and give you some solid facts. I think we would be foolish to try and predict exactly what's going to happen in 2021, especially after such a crazy 2020. But we do know for a fact that teaching English online has proven to be really popular and will most likely continue. It's here to stay. The cat's out of the bag, however you want to describe it. That option is not going to go away. The demand for professional development remains high. It's always been high. So ever since March, since the start of the lockdown, people have been wanting to develop professionally. They want to do online training courses, self-improvement. They want to learn things. They want to use their downtime. So that demand remains very high. And also those who prepare now will be best positioned for jobs when everything reopens. So if you take the time now, like study now, train now, prepare now, start looking for a job now, get some experience online, and then once schools reopen, you will absolutely be at the front of the queue for jobs and academies. So yeah. And Jade.
Yes. So another, I think, really big question on a lot of people's minds is whether the ESL industry is still something that is a good opportunity for people and whether they should get certified and become an English teacher. And we would definitely say absolutely yes. The TEFL industry has, I would say, not boomed, but it's definitely remained quite strong throughout the pandemic. It definitely hasn't been
consistent.
It's been consistent. Is a good way to describe it, Richard. Thank you. Teachers are still being hired. Job prospects have definitely not diminished. As schools begin to reopen, Ian sort of touched on this when he was talking about the type of classrooms. But as he was saying, because we do have these restrictions in classrooms, we can only have, 6 students in a class. So it means we're sort of closing up those student numbers per class. But it means we need more classes, which therefore we need more teachers. So, job prospects are definitely still there. And same with online. A lot of students are maybe still a little bit hesitant to go back to face-to-face classes. So they are opting for that online class option instead. So there is an increase in demand for online English teachers as well. So yeah, the demand is 100% definitely still there. And I can see it just getting, bigger and bigger as things start to improve. And yeah, again, the online education sector has grown heaps, so there's the massive demand for teachers. And another good reason as well at the moment, I think, is even though we are coming to the end of the pandemic and things are picking up, people still may be, not really knowing what to do with their time, maybe twiddling their thumbs, maybe still on furlough or government sort of temporary unemployment schemes. So if you've got that time, you might as well use it productively and upskill yourself. It's a good time to prepare for the future. Maybe you want a career change or you want to open yourself up to new opportunities. And since the ESL industry is something that is still so popular and consistent, it's a good thing that you could, potentially put your foot in the door with. And also getting qualified now means as soon as everything is back face to face, you're the first one there to snatch up one of those jobs. So yes, it's all round teaching online, teaching in person, getting qualified. I think now is as good of a time as any. So yes, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the benefits of getting certified online, particularly with TEFL Iberia, so doing a Trinity course online. Essentially, well, back in March when lockdown started, we were halfway through a course, and so we were obliged to continue that course online. It ended up being a kind of blended 50-50, and we found that everything that we did in person worked equally well online. Obviously some teething problems because we had no preparation time, but now 9 months later, we have had preparation time. We've been working on, you know, a new product containing all of the same features, and giving our trainees the same course experience that they get in physical course.
It was a real baptism by fire, because from one day to the next, we were running the course as normal in the school, in the classroom, like very regular course, and then boom, we have to be 100% online the next day. It was a lot, and I commend the tutors for dealing with it so well. It was like a massive shift, and you got through the course, so congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to the training.
The students were so happy with how Ian and Huli kept everything going so well. So it was definitely a massive success considering the circumstances.
Yeah, I think it was one of those where more Huli than myself, but we were these beautiful swans above the table and legs paddling underneath, which is actually the nature of so many training courses and things like that anyway. And the switch to going online just, it freshened things up and it kept us on our toes, and it meant that now that we are opening our own online ones, we've kind of been through this. Later courses in the year, so through July, October, November, we offered our trainees the opportunity for doing some of their teaching practice online. And all of the trainees jumped at this, sometimes with a little bit of, is it going to be the same? Am I going to get quite so much benefit from the online ones? And the feedback overwhelmingly is that yes, they do. The experience of it being online doesn't diminish the feeling of being a teacher. And that's why people do this course. Ultimately, it's because you think you're going to have a vocation for teaching, you hope you're going to have a vocation for teaching. And our feedback from trainees who have done elements of the course online before is certainly that it retains that. In terms of the convenience, costs, the cost of the course itself remains the same. The content is the same. You've still got your minimum of 6 hours of observed teaching practice, plus some private classes that we help you prepare for. The input sessions are all the same. In fact, you get more content on the online one because we've been able to create a lot of asynchronous videos that are uploaded onto our platform that you can kind of watch at your own convenience, in addition to the live time. But where the costs are much lower are the moving your life to another country, the bureaucratic things that are around it, and maybe the unknown costs. And so it's a lot easier to plan and budget exactly what you've got right now, maybe with the intention of then being able to find work and easing yourself into the teaching world before necessarily having to physically move country. The content, you're still going to be part of a group. We're going to be doing at least 4 hours live a day. This is in contrast to kind of 7 or 8 hours in the physical classrooms. This means that a lot of the inputs, obviously all of the teaching, they are synchronous, they are live, and they're kind of topped up with, if you're based in Europe, then some afternoon things. If you're based in America, some morning things. And it gives you a little bit more flexibility in terms of when you complete those 40 hours a week, instead of it having to be 7-8 hours physically in the classroom. And that really does benefit some people. You know, you can go to the gym in the middle of your sessions. You can take a bit of time out and come back to things fresh. So that's a real benefit of what we expect the online experience to be. The application to physical teaching, so many online courses that you may see, ultimately you're just doing online tests, you're watching videos, but you're not getting any practical experience to go with the theory. In ours, you're going to be observing lessons with real students that you're going to be teaching from the first day. You're going to be in there saying hello, organizing activities with the students from the very first time that you meet them. And you're going to be teaching them from day 3 on the course. And this means that you're there, you are their teacher. And that is the main role of a teacher. And the fact that we're converting what has been a successful physical course for the last 8 years, or not just a successful, but one of the best in Europe, means that the content is tailored towards physical teaching. The learning curve from going from online teaching to the physical classroom should not be as large or as big as you're maybe worried that it would be. I think that the reverse is actually much more, the going online from being a competent physical teacher. Many of the tools, the platforms that we use, such as Zoom, they enable the kinds of things that we use in the real classroom. And so we use breakout rooms to create small groups where you can jump in and monitor them working in pairs or working in groups. We can share Google documents with them that they can all edit kind of simultaneously, and you can read what they're doing and offer real error correction and feedback, which is what a lot of teachers feel that they can't really get into. We absolutely can. And the other thing that is actually so much better in online classrooms, not just on a teacher training course, but once you're into the real world of teaching, is the use of video, the use of audio, so much clearer for the students. It means that you can really use things that mean something to you, and students are able to experience it much clearer rather than in a big classroom necessarily where it gets a little bit lost. The final one is employability. It's the way that things are going. We've already touched upon it, that I can't imagine there being many bricks and mortar schools in the future that don't at least have an online presence. And so when they're looking for a teacher, of course they want teachers that want to be there physically with their students. But if you have experience and you have a willingness to teach online, and you can back it up with a Trinity online course, then they're definitely going to be putting you above other people that have online courses without real teaching practice, or above somebody that shows reluctance to the adoption of the teaching world.
I'd just like to back up what Ian said as well. The transition from going to physical in-person classes to online is surprisingly difficult. It's much easier to start teaching online and then go to in-person classes. When you've been used to traditional teaching, and then you have to learn a new platform and video and audio and screen grabs and screen sharing and it's quite a lot to learn.
Especially if you don't have a tutor and the support to kind of help you through it.
Yeah.
We were all kind of dropped in this world where sink or swim, and the great thing about the online course is that we've now been through that process, and we can help you every step of the way. You're not getting, your feedback's not really on how well you control the buttons of the online course. That's all the stuff that we help you with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another thing as well that like the application to physical teaching with the online Trinity Cert TESL that we're providing, we're also offering like a bonus booster in-person sort of 2-day workshop that you can do if you do eventually come to Barcelona, so you can get that experience teaching in a classroom with the support of Ian or Cooley, and you can sort of learn how to transform an online lesson plan into a face-to-face lesson plan, so you can easily keep using your materials and adapting and everything like that. So we do provide that if you do take the online Cert TESL and you do make the move to Barcelona on our developing teacher course or something like that, you've got that as a great option as well.
Yep. I think, Jade, you are continuing on the next one, eh?
Yes, so sort of moving on to getting certified online. A lot of people are like, oh, why would I want to teach online? I think when the sort of pandemic hit, everyone was like, oh my God, like teaching online is going to be so horrible. It's going to be so hard. I'm going to hate it. But in reality, I think a lot of people have actually learned to love it, and it's been quite a positive change that we've had to adapt to. It's created a lot of positives in our day-to-day lives, and it's created a lot of opportunities as well. So, you know, the location independence is insane. You can, you know, you don't have to be in one place. You can literally be moving around. You can be traveling. You can be teaching anywhere in the world, as long as you have a computer and an active Wi-Fi network. You're good to go. So it has that massive flexibility and an opportunity to be anywhere. You could be in Southeast Asia teaching a class in Europe. You could be in the States. You can be in Australia. You can literally be anywhere, earning money and teaching. So a great opportunity. The other really good thing as well that I personally have loved from teaching online is when you're teaching online, the time that you're just teaching. You don't spend any time commuting to work, setting up classrooms, printing materials. You know, that takes up a lot of our own personal time. And when you are teaching online, the 100% of the time you're teaching. You're not commuting and you're not wasting your time. So you really are taking control of your own life, your own time, your own sort of schedule as well. A lot of online sort of teaching companies that a lot of teachers end up working for is you can set your own schedule on when you want to work, what days you want to take off. You open up a time slot. Students can select, a time that they want their lessons for. So, you're not stuck and sort of trapped into this timetable of you need to be at the school at this time from on this day. So you are sort of, I feel, taking control of your life and your own time, and everything like that. You could also be living a really luxurious lifestyle in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, Thailand. It's so cheap to live there, but you're working for a European country, earning the money that a European teacher would be earning, but you're living in Thailand by the beach. So it definitely has its massive beauty and luxuries as well, I should say. So I think Richard, you've got some things to add on to that.
Ian.
Oh, Ian, sorry.
Yes. So some of the nature of online teaching, because to call it the difference between physical classroom and online teaching being the fundamental difference, I no longer think that is the case. I think that they're just different tools for teaching sets of students, essentially. And so we've got conventional academies. We've all been through this process. Within Spain, a lot of very large academies have closed, essentially, over the last 6 months, largely due to issues that they had from long before COVID and kind of a bit of an outdated approach towards teaching. And so a lot of conventional academies, they're modernizing a lot. Part of that is involving online teaching. And you'll find that this is something that's definitely here to stay, whether it's kids classes, whether it's their general English classes, whether it's their exam preparation. All of these types of classes have moved online. And it means that kind of the bulk of what we think of as the ESL world is there with the possibility of teaching online. And you don't need to be physically proximate to an academy that you work for. You can do it remotely. Certainly a lot of these academies, they've invested in platforms and online infrastructure. And so they're not going to suddenly turn that off, which means that somebody with a certificate in teaching online is perfectly positioned to apply for these roles within conventional academies. Specialized online companies, they've existed for quite a while. They're certainly growing in number. They're certainly growing in popularity. These quite often are, for example, a school based in China that is looking for a teacher to teach their students either individually or in small groups. And it means exactly what Jade has just said, that the world kind of can become your oyster. Also a great bit of variety that you can teach students from different countries. You can get used to the different issues or difficulties that learners have with learning English, you can also really fill up your timetable in terms of different time zones. If you're based in, say, East Coast of America, or you're based in America, in Europe, then early morning or afternoon, you can be getting the afternoon or evening students over in Asia, or maybe in reverse. I can't quite remember which way it goes, but it means that you can have some physical teaching and you can supplement it. You can top it up with different time zones that isn't possible if you're only teaching physically. We will send a little link with some of the popular online companies, but some of them are like VIP Kids, Superprof, iTutor, things like this, where essentially you send in a CV, you maybe record a short 30-second, 1 minute video on a short topic, and you get in contact with kind of a headhunter that is looking for teachers. And they can be a great way to build up money, especially with loyalty, and the more that you teach with them, kind of the better hours that they give you, the more bonuses that they give you. And so with a bit of dedication and a bit of time, you can really build up a good clientele base that you can carry around with you. The third one is in-company classes. I've long taught in-company classes. I studied economics myself. And so in-company classes tended to be morning lessons, lunchtime lessons, and after work lessons. And you would go into their company, they'd maybe have a small classroom set up somewhere, certainly maybe a meeting room. Quite often you had students that were ducking out to go and be in another meeting, or they get a phone call and then they're a bit distracted. Or they wouldn't really have the technology that they say that they would have, or you're in a little dungeon underground somewhere. And what's happened with the online nature of this is that the timings of them is much easier. Companies that maybe couldn't find a convenient time for all of their employers or employees to physically be in the same place, that's no longer a problem if these guys are working remotely, or they've got an hour and a half that they can fit into their timetables. And also, so many companies just didn't bother with English because they didn't have somewhere that they could put their English lessons. And that's not a problem now. They just need to sit at their desk or from home. And so companies are able to do this. We spoke a little bit before about individuals investing more in personal development, and hopefully a lot of you guys that are listening, you're thinking of that in terms of becoming a teacher yourself. But companies are going through that as well in terms of wanting their staff to be the best that they can be. They're wanting to break into new international markets or really consolidate their position, and English being the global language, that demand for lessons is only going to increase. And so in-company classes, as opposed to something like teaching kids or general lessons, is a great way to have that real feel that you're involved in a real business and helping their employees. The final one are private classes. You guys, Jaden, Richard, while you were teaching, you must have had private students while you were kind of working within companies. It's always been a great way to vary, not only you being your own boss maybe, or just getting that slightly different dynamic from a large group to working on your own, but you were always restricted by who could physically meet with you. Either you going to their house and you end up spending longer commuting and buying your metro tickets than the lesson itself, or the student maybe traveling or things like that, and not being able to get the consistency of lessons. Or then in the summer, when you want to go traveling, you have to finish all of your classes for the year because you couldn't do them. Whereas now, the rise of online teaching means not only can you cover for any missed physical classes, but we can reach out to students that maybe live in villages or towns or places that you wouldn't necessarily travel to, people with a very full timetable, you've got a bit more flexibility, they've got a bit more flexibility in terms of when we fit it in. My own circumstances, I've managed to pick up classes again with students that I had in the past. I teach some students that live in Bristol, which is where I used to live, and I wouldn't be able to do that at the moment if I hadn't made that switch to online teaching. And so the world really is there. You've just got to put yourself out there, have like an online presence, create your own website. A lot of these, the companies that kind of match students or small groups with a teacher, they don't accept links to your Facebook page or your Instagram page. And so having a website where you've got information about yourself, maybe a demo video, certainly professional skills that you can offer. Because what you find is that, students nowadays, they don't just want to learn a bit of basic grammar or a long list of vocabulary. It's communicative. They're using it in their professions. They're using it for their self-development. And so if you've got a background in law or you've got a background in customer service, you can really specialize. And these companies can help you find people looking for those exact qualities that you can help. And once you fill up a timetable with 4 or 5 of those in a week, then you're getting a really good base to supplement any other work that you're doing.
It's absolutely true. I remember when I was teaching, I really relied on my private classes. It was like your day-to-day money. Like you would get paid in cash, and I would use this to spend on food or the weekend or whatever until I got my main salary from my main job at the end of the month. Now, teaching private classes online has raised the interesting challenge of how do you accept payment? Especially, let's say you have a private student in a completely different country and maybe there's laws around transferring money, but we are going to address this in a blog post in the next week or so because it's a challenge that has come up for lots of private teachers. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen a lot, like a lot of those Facebook groups that a lot of not only teachers but students that are sort of hunting for teachers are in. They're all saying, I want online private classes, online private classes, online private classes. So it is definitely, I would say private classes have probably increased since the pandemic because people are like, oh, I can just have classes online. Teachers are happy to do that. So yeah, I think it's become a more sort of popular option these days, which is great for teachers, I guess.
Yeah, one other thing to add to that is this may be slightly anecdotal, but it's the experience that I've always had. I feel that people have been investing a lot more in their children and maybe a little bit less in themselves. And I think that this definitely changed in the 2008 crisis. And I think it will change again now that people will prioritize their own development, and language learning is a huge part of that. The other thing is English lessons, they're social. If you're a dynamic and communicative teacher, then students are going to enjoy your lessons and they get a bit of social time when they're working from home, when they're not getting that kind of break from their day-to-day labor as such. And so it's doubling up as not only an English lesson, but also a bit of a hobby for a lot of students, which if you can get a dynamic like that, then fantastic.
Yeah. I think one of the major questions I get when I'm interviewing potential trainees for the course is, how long is it going to take me after I finish the course to get a job? I think this has been a question that has burnt off my ears over my time in this position. And yeah, it really does depend on quite a few factors. I think one of the main ones is the time of the year. And when you're looking to find a job. If you're looking for something face-to-face, it really depends on the peak of the sort of academic year. So in Europe in particular, your major sort of peak hiring times are definitely September, August, September, and then it peaks up again in January, February after the sort of Christmas break. A lot of teachers do go home and they don't end up coming back. So academies are, scrambling to find, new teachers to finish the rest of the academic year. Online, I think it's quite a consistent all year round. Companies are generally looking for teachers. So the online environment, I think, is a little bit more consistent in regards to when companies are looking.
I think
I guess.
Sorry, Jade. I think the intensive summer courses and things like that, I can really see next year, assuming the new normal means that that people can, there's going to be a lot of that kind of teaching, and academies definitely are on the lookout for new teachers, you know, May, June, in order to do intensive courses over July and August.
And also summer camps as well for kids. A lot of kids do summer camps. A lot of academies as well offer summer programs as well. So yeah, I guess all year round, but then you do have those extra peaks during the sort of start of the academic year. I would say for like a general time frame for most people, if you are putting in the dedication and the effort into applying for jobs and attending interviews, generally a few weeks to a couple of months. Not a couple of months, to a month and a half, sorry. When you're applying for jobs face-to-face, I would say it's a lot sort of quicker process. From my experience personally, applying for jobs face-to-face here in Barcelona, companies want teachers straight away. They want you to start the next Monday, you interview, and then you've got the job, and then you're starting teaching pretty much straight away. So it is, you know, generally quite a quick turnaround. Although teaching online, Ian sort of touched on this before, you know, you go through quite a few different processes in the application, sort of like sending resumes, having 1, 2, 3 interviews, practice lessons. So that can generally take, you know, more to a couple of weeks to a month mark. Aside from that, though, you know, with perseverance and, you know, dedication, generally, you know, none of our graduates anyways overly struggle to find employment after they've finished their cert TESOLs. So it's, yeah, definitely realistic to say maybe, you know, a couple of weeks to a month or so to get yourself in a nice solid job. So
it's really selling yourself, and so these places, they often ask for experience, and so sell the experience that you've had on any course, sell any tutoring experience that you had in the past. I mean, there's not many people that apply for a job and don't slightly exaggerate their CV. What they want is someone who's going to be a great teacher in the future. That's ultimately what they're looking for. They're just putting it on their letters or their job adverts and things in order to try and make sure that they've got people that take it seriously. But if you've done a TEFL course and you've moved to a new country and you're, you know, eager and keen to learn things, then, you know, don't be put off because you don't quite meet all of the requirements. Because, you know, if it was that easy to find a teacher, the job advert wouldn't even be there. They would have already found somebody that they had kind of in mind. The other thing is to really sell your skills. And so somebody who's been a teacher for 5 years and can say, I have 5 years of experience, well, fantastic. But if you've got 4 years of experience working in companies, maybe traveling around the world and learning other languages, and you've got another L1 language that you can speak, and you've got 6 months of experience, then potentially you are as good as somebody that has those 5 years of experience. It's an industry that is progressive thinking, and gives those opportunities to new teachers. Also, you know, academies with online teaching, now they're going to want to be able to help somebody with their own platforms. And so the lack of experience doesn't really hold you back. It's actually an opportunity that they can train you in their particular way of doing things, and you've not got bad habits or reluctance and things like that to kind of get in the way of where they're wanting to go with their company.
Yeah, a lot of academies definitely want. Oh, sorry, Richard. A lot of academies do want sort of less experienced teachers so they can sort of train them in their own methodologies and their own sort of way of teaching. So it's definitely not a downfall not having overly a lot of experience.
True. From my experience in the TEFL world, I don't know anybody that has looked for a job and not found a job. You really just have to be patient, keep looking, and you will absolutely get something.
And not take anything personally when you don't hear back or anything like that. But that's like any job, isn't it?
Yeah, and say yes to everything. If you're new in this industry, it's like, do you want to teach kids? Sure. Do you want to do adults? Yes. Do you want to work in the evening? Yes. Like, say yes to everything, and you'll get some experience. You'll get some hours, and you can build it up from there. And then once you have more experience and you're more confident, you can be a little bit more discerning in exactly who you want to teach and at what time.
Yeah. Also, very often, they'll take a risk on a teacher with, let's say, 2 evenings a week. And then if they find that they love you as a person and a co-worker and a teacher, obviously, then that doubles and you start building up your hours. And so you shouldn't be put off by what seems quite a small number, because so often there's flexibility for that. The feedback that they get from their students immediately means, I want to keep this teacher. I've got someone here. And you'll find that teaching hours really, really increases.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we can maybe discuss the timeline for finding a job in the Q&A towards the end. I'm just conscious of time. Yeah. So just a quick overview of what we offer at TEFL Iberia. So we have the 100% online Trinity Cert TESOL, and we've also got the in-person in Barcelona, the Trinity Cert TESOL. Now, the content of these two courses is identical. The amount of time and effort and hours that go in is identical. Some people often wonder why the cost is the same. I know some people logically or rationally think, oh, well, it's online, it should be cheaper. But it's really the same resources, the same expertise. Arguably more time goes into preparing the online course. It's the same number of hours and it's the same amount of teaching practice. And the course really holds its own compared to the face-to-face course. And for all the reasons that Ian mentioned before, especially the transition from either online to in-person or vice versa. It's definitely easier to go online and then in person. Mm-hmm. The other popular course that we offer is the Developing Teacher course. This is most popular for processing student visas as it meets all the requirements. It's like an advanced TEFL course. It's like a post-TEFL. If you've already done your initial training, then you can do the Developing Teacher course. So they take part in twice weekly sessions led by Ian. They are very informative, very interesting, and yeah, they're great if you want to take your teaching to the next level. The other secondary benefit of this is that it's very useful for networking and for meeting more of your peers, because everybody 99% of the people that do the course are non-EU citizens. So we have a very large WhatsApp group, and it's great for all you to share advice, to share tips, especially in Spanish bureaucracy, because you guys are going through it. You've gone through it and you are going through it. So there's someone in the group that's got like a little bit more experience than you, or they've already done whatever process. So it's great for learning about appointments and letters and documentation and what to do and like where to go.
It definitely has because I'm part of that WhatsApp group, and it really has a feeling of pay it back to the community. And someone that's new, they can ask these questions, and then once you're experienced, you can help out other people with it. And the other great thing is that it's completely supportive. There's no competition in it, because one person going through a bureaucratic experience isn't going to limit the possibilities for somebody else going through that same experience. So nobody's withholding information or anything like that. It is 100% supportive community that we have in the Developing Teacher, not just in the classroom or in the online sessions, but that source of up-to-date, last-minute kind of information.
It really is an amazing source of information, because it's as fresh as you can get, because you guys you're experiencing it and then sharing it immediately. So it really is good.
And that big, there's bound to be someone that knows the answer to your question. So it is, I mean, I even learn things every day. I'm like, oh.
I know quite a few of them meet up on a regular basis. They share lesson ideas. They have a beer. It's when you move to a new country, you undergo an intensive course, maybe with 7 or 8 people on your course, and then half of them leave. You've not really got a huge network system, and something like the Developing Teacher course means that you've got people in a very similar situation than you are, and you've got friends immediately, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So just to to wrap up as well, the bottom line that we want to convey is that we're here to help. So if you need help with your certification, if you want to do some initial training, some advanced training, if you're new in Barcelona and you need accommodation, or if you're not from the EU and you need to process a student visa, if you want to stay for 6, 12 months, 18 months, whatever. If you need some advice about where to find a job, where to start, how to do an application, CV, private classes, we can absolutely help you with this. Local bureaucracy is a big one as well. We've all lived in Barcelona for a long time. We've lived it, we experience it. We've all engaged with public administration. It can be a headache, but we've done it. We can help you with this. And again, it's lifetime support. So if you do a course with us, you're welcome to come back. You're welcome to come back anytime. We have a lot of graduates. They finish the course, they maybe move somewhere else, they get some experience, and they come back to Barcelona years later, and it's great to see them. It's great to see them catch up, see what they've been doing, and then help.
About a month ago, we had a trainee that did the course, I don't know, in 2017. I think he was one of our first Trinity graduates, and he just popped in kind of on a whim to say hello and talk about how he was getting on. He'd been working out in Asia and he was back in Europe, and those kind of things it really makes you feel like you're affecting the world, not only that trainee, but all of the students that they then teach and help develop.
It's true. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Okay, so this is the final part, live Q&A. So you are welcome to type in your questions now. We've had a few questions already, which we'll address. We'll give you a minute just to do that. The very first one was from Janet. She was asking, if you complete the online course from outside of Barcelona, is there any help for finding jobs later in the year? Yes, absolutely. So, like I say, the career service that we offer and the support is lifetime. You're welcome to come back anytime, and we'll welcome you to the school. We'll talk you through, we'll keep you up to date with what's happening. Oh, another thing worth mentioning is we have a mailing list for jobs as well. Schools in Barcelona often get in touch with us to promote their job opportunities, and we forward them on to you guys. So once you're on that list, you're on it. And yeah, unless you unsubscribe, of course, but that's up to you.
Yeah, I think something that we're also kind of in the process of at the moment is, recontacting with the alumni that we have and seeing where they've gone in the world, and if there's the online potential to work in centres that they're at or follow in their footsteps. Is definitely something that we'd be looking to increase in terms of not just Barcelona or Spain, but more international. But also so many people that come and do the course in Barcelona, they do ultimately only stay in Barcelona for the duration of the course. And then they're off to China, or they're off to South America, or they're back home to their home country in South Africa, for example. And so the fact that you take the course online and Barcelona isn't where you're looking for work, we can still help you to find it elsewhere.
I've seen some good questions coming in from non-native teachers. Yeah, I've got some ideas. I don't know if you guys want to make some comments.
You go first.
Oh, well, the one specific piece of advice that I like to give, well, there's lots really. First of all, non-native teachers need to play to their strengths. Like you guys, you know the grammar, you know it perfectly. Just because you're a native speaker doesn't mean you're going to be a good teacher. I think good teachers are good teachers, whether English is your first language or not. So, and employers know that as well, So they look for the teacher, not the language that you speak as your first language, for sure. The other little piece of practical advice I like to give non-native teachers is that in Barcelona, for example, or any major city, I'll use Barcelona as an example. The market it's a very busy market. There's lots of schools, there's lots of students, and there's lots of teachers, which is good. But if you go just outside the city centre, I'm talking maybe 20 minutes on the train, there are just as many students, but a lot less teachers and a lot less competition from native teachers. So I found that non-native teachers have a lot more success, and they find it much easier to find a job just outside the city centre where there's less competition from non-native teachers. So a little practical tip for you there.
Yeah. To add to this, within Spain, it's illegal to post a job specifying native speakers only. It's something that, as a teachers association, native teachers are completely supportive of their non-native colleagues and really stand kind of shoulder to shoulder with them. And so it's something that on our courses, we completely go along with that in terms of the job opportunities that we offer within kind of our sister language school. We don't differentiate at all. From my experience, yeah, and it shouldn't be.
One of the best teachers we know, and she joined the course, which is fantastic. So yeah, anyone can do it.
Yeah. The other thing is a lot of non-natives will maybe feel, a little bit intimidated going onto a course or something like that. I think that colloquial language, some elements of pronunciation, you're kind of, they're in the back of your mind, you're a little bit concerned about them. Well, the natives have all of those with the grammar, with the language awareness. And it's so interesting seeing a group of trainees together where they can help each other on different things. They can learn from things that maybe somebody, when they begin the course, are a bit stronger at than each other. And it opens our eyes that speaking a language doesn't mean that you can teach it. And having been through the process of learning a language not only means that you can empathize with your students, but you know the style of teacher that you like and the style of teacher that you want to be to help your students. And so from both how good you're going to be as a teacher and how like the preference for native or non-native, it really comes down to how good a teacher you are and not where you're from.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
I see we have a question about the visa process as well. Jade, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so how long will the visa process last or take? At the moment, it is depending on each individual consulate, just with everything that's happening with the pandemic. But generally, once you have submitted your application, it can be processed within around 3 to 4 weeks. The lead up to submitting your application, I generally say at least allow around 2 months to gather all of your documents, especially if you are living in the States. It is quite a lengthy process to get everything actually living anywhere, you have to get all of your documents translated into Spanish and then also accredited by a justice of the peace or the equivalent in your country. And then also getting an actual appointment as well. So you can't apply for your visa any earlier than 90 days before you do anticipate to arrive into Barcelona, into Spain. But I would say give yourself 2 months and then around 4 weeks for the actual visa process to be processed and for your visa to be granted.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So if you start now, a realistic time would be mid-February, maybe, to actually be arriving in Barcelona. And the biggest bottleneck, if you like, is gathering all the documents, because you need your medical certificate, your criminal background check. There's a bunch of personal documents that you have to gather, which can take some time.
Yeah, it can be quite a hassle to get everything. So, I mean, it's definitely something that you can do quite quickly. I've definitely had a lot of trainees that have come through the course that have, called me up, 6 weeks before the course has started, and they say, I want to come for this course intake. And I'm like, you need to get a visa, but they make it happen. So it's definitely something you can do, but to save yourself the stress and the potential heart attack, just give yourself the time. So 2 months.
Yeah. Okay, some other good questions. Any tips on how to prepare for taking the course?
Tips for preparing to take the course? Well, we have pre-course tasks that we send out. A lot of this is kind of language awareness, and so elements of grammar, certainly, elements of vocabulary or lexis, a lot of the terminology that will come up on the course. Also, with the online ones, the plan is to send out some asynchronous pre-recorded videos kind of to go along with it, but also to familiarize yourself with the platforms that we use. And so probably a total of about 8 to 10 hours of pre-course things is what we would recommend before day one on the course. But really the course is there, and it's designed to take you from day one until the final moderation on the course without a huge amount going in beforehand. The course itself is intensive, but you don't need to know it all before taking the course. That's the idea of the course, is that we go with you step by step. But certainly if you wanted a little head start or some areas to focus on, then we've got a pre-course reading list and some things that we heavily recommend that you do kind of consume, but it's not like you're doing a 2-week course before you even come on the course.
I should add as well, we'll be taking the time to, we've got lots of documentation about information, publicity material about like visas, finding work, preparation for the course, and we'll share this with everyone via email afterwards as well. I think there was another question about work permission. So I would say
one question that we missed.
Oh yeah.
Oh, go on.
No, on you go.
There was a question up the top from Claire saying, I'm just wondering if I should wait until I can do the in-person or do it online sooner. Do you recommend one over the other? I think this is quite a good question.
Do it now. Always now. You can't. Not knowing what is going to happen. If you want to do the course, do the course. I don't think you should plan your life around what may or might happen in the future. I think you have to think, what is the current reality? What do I want to do? And plan accordingly. So if you want to teach, start now.
Yeah, nothing can affect the fact that the online courses are going to happen. If I go into lockdown, then I wouldn't be able to teach the physical course in January. But as long as my internet is here and our internet is there, then the online courses are happening as well. And so that worry is not there.
Yeah, good question. Thanks.
And like the content of the online cert TESL and the content on the face-to-face cert TESL is exactly the same. So you're getting the same quality training.
They are a little bit different because we tweak it to be online, but the assignments are exactly the same. The principles behind it and the things that we've done for the online is maybe to streamline some parts in order to be able to focus on elements that we know work well in online. But yeah, it's not identical, but it's offering exactly the same level of course.
Yeah, exactly. You're walking out with the exact same amount of training and confidence that you're going to have. So I wouldn't recommend one over the other. I reckon they're both as valuable as each other.
Yeah, perfect. I think one final question. So from Angola, about the work permit and a student visa and how many hours. So I'll just try and give you a quick overview. So basically, when you have a student visa, you're allowed to work up to 20 hours per week. In order to do this, you need a document called a convenio, which is like an agreement between the school that you study and the place that you're going to work. So you're basically employed as like a paid student intern, or like a paid work experience. So the idea is that you're a student and you're studying at TEFL Iberia, but you need to do work experience where you are working in a school. So we prepare a document, an agreement between us, the school, and your employer. And this means you are allowed to be registered with Social Security. It's 100% official, legal, you're in the system, and you receive a proper salary at the end of it as well. So yes, that's entirely possible. And we can also send you more information about this afterwards as well.
Yeah, the salary is completely comparable to people that are not on a student visa as well. It's not.
Yeah. The main difference is the type of contract that you have. So like, there's lots of different types of work contracts in Spain, but if you come on a student visa and work in a school, you will be on it's like practicas. It's like a work experience contract, basically. But the salary is exactly the same, so no change there.
And a lot of most academies are happy to do this as well. So don't think that because you're on a student visa, academies won't want to bother. Heaps of academies are open to hiring as teaching on student visas.
Yeah, it's a process that all established academies have been through. Like they know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's been an hour and 20 minutes. So I think we'll wrap it up there. Or do we have another question coming in? Oh, thank you. Well, thank you. Okay, well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
There may be one from Jackie.
Jackie. Oh, a few more people.
We've got some more questions.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this evening, and we will be in touch for sure via email with more information. Okay, thanks, guys.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Hopefully see some of you sometime soon.